Bill, I brought my elderly mom to get her COVID shot tonight in the cold, dark, icy weather. My brother set up the appointment. Of course, we get there and she wasn't on the list. We will have to go back Saturday. I am not all surprised at this stupidity. Many old people in wheelchairs and walkers were out in the dark, cold, icy weather. One false slip and it's a year of surgery and rehab. That's if they survive. I'm adding that. I heard the very old man next to us say, I'll come back Saturday. It probably happened to many old timers who got themselves there, defying danger only to be rejected.
So sad.
It is. It's horrible.
I mean, the elderly during this whole thing, the people who are the most vulnerable, have gotten screwed over time and time again. And it makes me sad just to think that somebody wouldn't be able to get there anyway. But yeah, I'm not surprised someone asked him that question. Howie, are you ready for some Grace's news?
I am indeed.
Did you hear what happened to your old friend, Bret Stephens from the New York Times?
No, but I have a feeling it's going to make my heart feel like an alligator.
It is, because actually, speaking of alligators, you know how you always say, Howie, that all these Democrats are trying to ride the tiger,
right?
And then the mob comes for them,
right?
Well, the censorship mob is coming for Bret Stephens. New York Times spikes column that criticized paper's handling of the slur word controversy.
Oh, wow.
So do you remember what happened with the
McNeil? The guy's Don McNeil. He's been there for like 45 years. He's really old. He used the N-word on some conference with some rich kids to Peru. And they asked him about it, and he just said, it's not that big of a deal. But it wasn't like he was running around like he was a member of the Ku Klux Klan.
No, he was asked a question about it, and he was explaining something. And then the New York Times decided years later that they were going to fire him.
Right.
And then it turns out that there's several other people, or at least one person from the New York Times who has used the N-word in tweets. And I don't think
and this is the woman who got the quote unquote Pulitzer Prize for the 1619 Project, which was just riddled with errors and was just an act of political propaganda, like, come to think of it, the Russian collusion hoax stories for which they won the Pulitzer Prize.
Howie, I think one of the errors that I read was that in the, what is it called? The 1619 Project?
Yes.
They say...
That's the year the slaves first landed at Jamestown.
They say that the reason that America wanted to break away from Great Britain was because...
To protect the slavery.
To protect slavery, the institution of slavery. That was one thing people had a problem with. But anyway, Bret Stephens wrote a piece about this. And I'm guessing in the piece, he kind of probably defended McNeil, because I guess a lot of people really like this guy as a coworker and like a colleague. He was, a good guy. And he defended him. And the paper
He was as good a guy as you can be for having worked at the New York Times for 45 years. Let's put it that way, Grace.
Yes, exactly. And they decided to spike his column, because you can't have a column about free speech and censorship.
First, they came for Barry Weiss, and he said nothing. Then they came for James Bennett, and he said nothing. And now, guess what, Brett? They've come for you.
Exactly. And Howie, this story is really incredible. This one just broke. Pelosi banned Congresswoman's military officer's son from attending her swearing in. Did you see this?
No. Who was that?
Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi would not allow Republican New York Representative Claudia Tenney to have her son present in the gallery.
Oh, she's the one that they tried to steal the election from her. And Mark Elias, who's been filing all these lawsuits for mail-in ballots, said the Republicans were stealing the election with fraudulent votes on the ballot machines. He hasn't been, by the way, he hasn't been canceled, I don't think, Mark Elias, has he?
Well, you know how cancellations work. To have her son present in the gallery for her swearing in, which happened today, former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer sent out a tweet Thursday morning with the news that Pelosi denied Tenney's request to let her son, a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, watch her get sworn in from above the floor in the gallery.
Why?
The Daily Caller contacted Tenney about the news, to which she confirmed it was true. I guess he's considered a risk, Tenney told the caller. Tenney said that Pelosi told her the news about her son not being allowed to watch from the gallery in a text from staff and in person, adding that there were several exchanges. Tenney's son received a phone call from former President Donald Trump before he deployed to Iraq in 2017.
I'm guessing that Driftin' Dave Ismay, who was also a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy before he became a pampered puke, I'm guessing he could attend and there would be no problems whatsoever.
Well, it's really kind of amazing how low Pelosi will go. Like, she's so bitter and twisted And it just seems, I don't know.
Did you hear she's got another promotion though? Cut 27. This is Jamie Raskin, the missing Mark's brother, on the floor.
The actual day of the attack, they will recreate the attack as it unfolded, focusing on the threats to Vice President Pelosi, Vice President Pence, Speaker Pelosi, the joint session.
He's really covering himself with honor here. The other day he said 7 people were killed in the riots. 7.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's just
actually
it's
one
crazier.
by the definition of the usual definition of kill. 1 person was killed, and that was a Trump supporter, unarmed Navy veteran, like Representative Tinney's son, and she was killed by a Capitol cop that they still refuse to identify. Say her name, Ashley Babbitt. Go ahead.
Howie, Grace's News is brought to you by Toyota of Portsmouth, the house of value. I absolutely love my new RAV4 XLE. I really do. It's a great car. I have leather seats, not to brag, and a sunroof. And I just really love it. It's great to drive. And the best part was getting it because it was such an easy process. The people there are so nice. Toyota Portsmouth has a huge, sparkling clean showroom and an incredible staff. They are located just south of the Portsmouth traffic circle off 95. Go to toyotaofportsmouth.com or visit them at the showroom and tell them Grace sent you. In other news, Howie, I do want to play, and I don't know how much of this we can even get through because I'm starting to get like you where I have a very short rope with these sound cuts, but I want to play a little bit of Joe Scarborough because he's got this obsession with Josh Hawley. Remember first he called him he said he's bird-like. He
has hands like a bird. And I was thinking to myself, I've never seen a bird that had hands.
He's a creative guy, Joe Scarborough. Well, he was attacking him again. And I know and you know better than me, I know that like it's hard to sue people for libel and stuff, especially if you're a public figure.
Yes.
But some of the stuff Joe Scarborough is saying about him is so... take a listen and tell me what you think. This is cut 25.
If you're Josh Hawley, you actually are the person who led the insurrection. You're the person most responsible, other than Donald Trump, for that insurrection. You're the person most responsible for a police officer being beaten to death.
That's
you're
not
the person
true.
most responsible for the cop killing, for the cop beating, for the abusing.
I mean, it's so defamatory. I have to think
the cop wasn't beaten, let alone beaten to death. And that's CNN. I mean, how much more left-wing committed to fake news can you be than CNN? And they couldn't even stand up a fake news broadcast on that.
I know.
But he doesn't care. And the guy is a former member of Congress, and he's an officer of the court, a lawyer, a member of the bar, and he's just making these incendiary, crazy accusations. But Grace, the problem under Times versus Sullivan, Josh Hawley has no recourse.
And and I'm sure that, Josh Hawley has thicker skin than most people, so I don't think he cares. But Howie, I will say, speaking of Josh Hawley and courts, he mentioned something that you've been mentioning lately, and I maybe we have the sound effect. Let's first play the cut of the kangaroo court. This is cut 14.
Well, I think what we're watching is a total kangaroo court. It is an illegitimate proceeding. It is unconstitutional. If you want to see the proof of that, Harris, just look at what happened last night when Senator Mike Lee pointed out that the House managers had blatantly misquoted him. He tried to get it stricken from the record, and what ensued was chaos on the Senate floor as Senator Leahy first ordered a vote, then stopped the vote in the middle because Chuck Schumer intervened to ask him, oh, wait a minute, don't do the vote. Total chaos and pandemonium. They are making this up as they go along. It's totally unconstitutional, and it is incredibly selfish on the part of the Democrats who are pursuing their own personal political vendettas.
And it's kind of embarrassing.
I was thinking about, we almost called it a star chamber, but there's no sound effect for a star, whereas we got this sound effect for a kangaroo.
And Howie, Josh Hawley made a great point, the senator, about how disorganized and crazy it's been going. And I'm not really giving a lot of credit to the Republican side either, because I don't think their arguments have been that compelling. But there's another story about how the impeachment manager exhibit incorrectly identifies Charlottesville, Virginia as Charlottesville, North Carolina. And so people on Twitter had to correct them on that as well. And I saw another story.
How bad is that? That's the next state over from Washington, D.C. And how many times have they made neo-Nazis in Charlotte? They can't even keep Charlottesville straight from Charlotte.
Right. And there's another story that I will probably do in tomorrow's news because I can't exactly confirm it. But there was talk, and actually maybe Jared knows this, there was talk that one of the tweets they put up in the exhibit, the blue check mark that was next to someone's name to make them seem like they were, a really bona fide conservative. The girl tweeted back and said, I've never had a blue check mark. So someone edited that onto the tweet. And I have to double check it.
So you can now if you say, let's fight, that's like a crime, right? That's what they're saying, basically, isn't it?
Well, yeah, or fight like hell, and people were putting up old tweets of Joe Biden saying "fight like hell," and they didn't really have a problem with it then. I mean, Joe Biden spent most of his campaign out talking about how, oh, come on, man, I would love to give Trump a nice punch in the face.
Yeah, I'm going to take him behind the gym, and I'm going to handle him like I handle that guy Sugar Pop, or was it Sugar Smacks?
Corn Pop.
I know.
Sugar Pop. I like that better though.
No, they used to have Sugar Pops, but that was just they I don't know. They got rid of about the time that the refined white sugar got a bad rap. That was the end of Sugar Pops. There was just corn pops.
Can I tell you one more thing that I find to be amazing is that Eric Swalwell and all these people are out there, the impeachment managers, talking about how Trump's tweets incited, like you said yesterday, he's on trial for tweeting basically. And if you remember during the Brett Kavanaugh stuff, Senator Collins, Susan Collins from Maine, was getting a lot of aggressive death threats, like ugly voicemails. Yeah.
She got some white powder delivered to one of her offices in Maine, I believe.
And you remember what Eric Swalwell tweeted? He wrote back something like, boo hoo, oh, you have people protecting you, boo hoo. So all of these people who are now clutching their pearls about how horrible everything Donald Trump has done, they're just so full of it. I mean, they've always used violent rhetoric. And now what did Eric Swalwell get for tweeting that out? He got appointed impeachment manager. It's just such a joke.
Yeah. Well, at least they gave him the worst makeup person that they had.
I didn't see.
He looks like he's a corpse, who was in a bad auto accident. And they had
How dare you?
I'm sorry. That's what he looked like yesterday. All right, Grace.
You know what that is, Howie?
What's that?
That's when people use a certain makeup powder that I think it's called talc, and it makes it reflects badly under the hot lights. I've made that mistake before. We've all been there.
Not me.
Not you, but
I just use.
You don't let us put a lot of makeup on you.
No, not at all. Okay, thank you, Grace.
Thanks, Howie.
Great news. The Gen 40 heater is back and just in time for the really cold temperatures. Oil prices are going up. The Keystone XL pipeline has already been stopped. 35 million gallons of oil a day are going to China instead of the U.S. Now there's a moratorium on fracking on federal land. That means natural gas prices are going through the roof. It's been 10 degrees for days and weeks in parts of New England. The snow's coming every couple of days. You need to start planning for this fiasco with energy, and that means you need the Gen 40 heater. Robert from the Cape says the Gen 40 performs like no other heater I've ever used. It is remarkable. I have one down here in my office in Florida, even. Keeps me warm. I have one at my place in my condo. I love the Eden Pure Gen 40. It makes you feel warmer than your furnace, and it also costs less to run. You may be working from home more now, and you will need to pay close attention to the heating bills. The Eden Pure Gen 40 will pay for itself in a matter of weeks. Go to EdenPure.com and put in code word HowieDeal to get $50 off the sale price. That's EdenPure.com and use code word HowieDeal for an extra $50 off. These heaters are in high demand, so go right now to EdenPure.com. I'm Howie Carr.
Howie Carr. You can